Right on to the real, much love to these haters. It's time for the Lakers, it's time for the Lakers. Right on to the real, much love to these haters. It's time for the Lakers, it's time for the Lakers. Right on to the real, much love to these haters. It's time for the Lakers, it's time for the... Man, what is happening, my YouTube family? Of course, it is your boy B New. I'm coming at you on this Friday. TGIF, first and foremost, as always, positive vibrations and blessings out to anybody who could be listening. Now, with all that being said, we all know that the Los Angeles Lakers took on the Philadelphia 76ers yesterday in the city of brotherly love. And, you know, I had a pregame show on yesterday, as always, and I actually had two pregame shows. In my first pregame show, I predicted the Lakers victory because we all know how LeBron James has been playing, and I also stated that Anthony Davis was going to play up to par and rise to the level of his competition and not be a slouch. And I was correct about one of those things. But then had to come back and do another pregame show later on in the evening, in which I stated that LeBron James was out due to knee soreness, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. But I still said that the Lakers could win that game, and I still predicted that they would have won that game. And you know, that was far from the truth, and maybe I just had a little bit too much faith in them. But one thing I can say is Frank Vogel did not start Trevor Ariza or Dwight Howard, so I thought that was a good sign. And as you can see, the Lakers came out and was going blow for blow with the 76ers in the first quarter up until Anthony Davis was injured. And once he was injured and went out for all of those minutes, he was out for the rest of the first quarter, is when Philly went on that run. And then he didn't even start the second quarter. And we saw that he had the big heating pad or whatever it was on his wrist. So he sat on the bench for several more minutes, and Maya came back in the 6th or 7th minute of the second quarter. But by that time, the lead had already gotten a little bit away from the Lakers, which there was times where they were fighting their way back into the game. But basically what it boiled down to, and I was right about one thing. Hey, watch the pregame show. I was right about one thing. I said the Philadelphia 76ers would have 105 points. But I said the Lakers would have 111. So that's where I was wrong. I predicted 111 to 105. And if you look at it, the Lakers shot, 6 out of 29 from 3. Now, let's just be serious. Even if they could have just been a respectable 12 out of 29 for 3, that's an additional 6 3-pointers. You understand me? An additional 6 3-pointers would have amounted to 18 points. And those 18 points really could have helped the Lakers be in a close game to where they possibly could have won that game. But it was just not their night because, I mean, everybody was just off from three-point line. Malik Monk couldn't get it going. THT was broke, which he's a streaky shooter anyway. Melo was broke. He didn't have it going on from 3. Avery Bradley didn't have it going on for 3. Coach even at one point put in Wayne Ellington, which we hadn't seen in a while, and deservedly so. I didn't think we needed to see him for a while. Glad we ain't seen him for a while. But at that point, I wasn't even mad at Frank Vogel for maybe getting a spark. Like, okay, if Wayne Ellington can come in and start hitting threes, then okay, maybe we can get a spark. Because like, just kept cutting it like down to 12 and 10, and you get a couple of stops, hit a 3, or get on a run. You get it down to 7 or 8, then it's a different ball game. But of course, Wayne Ellington came in and clanger, right off the back iron, another young brick. But then when he come in for garbage time, then he wanted to hit a 3. So think about this, ladies and gentlemen. The Lakers shot a putrid 6 out of 29 from three-point land. And if I do the math right, that's only 21%, which is terrible. And out of those 6 3-pointers, 1 was in garbage time for sure from Wayne Ellington, and 2 of them were by Russell Westbrook, who normally doesn't even hit threes. So if you take that into account, really, that would have been 3 out of damn 29, and 3 out of 29 is terrible. And it wasn't falling. And I will credit some of that to the 76ers playing decent defense. They were closing out on shooters, but a lot of those looks that the Lakers were getting, some of those corner threes, Austin Reeves, and I wish I would have, just put up the stats right here, and I could look at it. What everybody shot from 3, but it was terrible. I think Monk was like 1 out of 6. Wayne Ellington was like 1 out of 5, maybe. Stanley Johnson was like 0 out of 3. You know, and then another thing is, I feel like even when the Lakers were coming back and they made runs and they put AD back in the fourth, and they cut it down for a minute to, like, you know, it was at 20, I think, after the third and going into the fourth, and they cut it down to like 12 or even 10 at one point, but he stuck with Carmelo Anthony on the floor, which, you know, Carmelo had 25 minutes, Stanley Johnson had 25 minutes. If you're truly giving Stanley Johnson a starting role, then Stanley Johnson needs to be playing more than 25 minutes. He's young, and the defense he played was great. It was even a sequence, I don't know if anybody remembers, where he caused Joel Embid to get a charge when he just bodied up against him and played fundamental defense, put his knees and spread his arms, and wouldn't allow Joel to put the ball on the floor and get around him, and then had the strength enough to stand there and take any kind of thing that Joel was going to do. It wasn't like it was deep in the post, because, of course, deep in the post, nobody going to stop Joel Embid, and not even Anthony Davis. We'll talk about that matchup in a moment, but Stanley Johnson should have did more on the court, and if you think about it, out of all the plus minuses, Stanley Johnson had the lowest plus minus out of everybody on there. I mean, everybody else was like big time negative, and Stanley Johnson was like +1 or either even. So wish he could have spent a little bit more time on the court. Him and AD, I think, is going to be quite a formidable front court. And LeBron James, of course, had LeBron James played, I just think it would be a different outcome, because you talking about LeBron James he's been averaging 29 since Christmas. So he would have dropped in at least 29 or 30 points himself. And that's all the points the Lakers need, because everybody else was broke. And then not to mention, of course, we know LeBron James is going to get you 5 or 6 assists at least. And that's going to be points for others. So not everybody was getting easy looks. And one thing that you look at, you know, Westbrook had 20 points, but he only had 4 assists. And I won't necessarily say that, you know, Anthony Davis, he held his own, and I think that's a good sign for things to come for the season, because if Anthony Davis can play like that, the problem has been Anthony Davis, LeBron James play great, and Anthony Davis not so great. You understand what I'm saying? So Anthony Davis needs to put on those same type performances alongside LeBron James. And if Anthony Davis and LeBron James are playing at that level, then trust me, it's going to be hard to stop that. So with the way AD was playing last night, imagine if LeBron was playing the same way, breaking down the defense and getting others involved, then I think they would have had a good shot. Now back to LeBron James, I think, you know, at his age, you know, he ran and stole it and did a dunk, ran down and stole it and did another dunk. You know, I know you want to electrify the crowd, LBJ, but just go ahead and lay it in sometime, man. Just lay it in sometime. You know, it's year 19. You're doing things that's unprecedented. At year 19, Kobe averaged like 22 at year 19. Tim Duncan might have averaged like 14 in year 19. I mean, nobody. I mean, if you look at it, I'm gonna have to do a whole nother show or TikTok on that, but that's a case for another day. But at the end of the day, LeBron James, him and AD playing like that together, I'm telling you, it's gonna be damn near unstoppable. The thing is, Anthony Davis has to play like that. He can't just say, oh, I'm going against Joel Embid, so now let me show my stuff. Nah, man, you was playing from the post. You hit a couple of jumpers, but you was playing in the paint. So you need to continue that up, because Joel Embid is a hell of a defensive player himself. So with that being said, you know, with all that being said, then, you know, you can really take it to anybody else who's not, you know, to all these other centers. Oh, shit, man. Golly. Dude just got his whole block knocked off. Yeah. Man, I wish y'all could have seen that. Dude almost got his whole block knocked off. But anyway, man, that kind of threw me off, y'all. I gotta refocus again. But back what I was saying, LeBron James playing like that with Anthony Davis, that's gonna be something, man, a hell of a thing to be able to have to contend with. And LeBron James, as far as the knee thing, probably just tendonitis, waking up at that age and just being that hard on your knees. And you know, LeBron James really likes to slam it home. And it's kind of funny, it's his liftoff leg, it's the knee that's sore, so he needs to be careful and nurse that. And I just feel like, you know, maybe he wants to get rest for the first night of this back-to-back, you know, because they are playing again tonight at Charlotte. Man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to see the game. I may have to see it while I'm traveling. It all depends, because your boy is gonna be headed to the ATL, and unfortunately I won't be able to see the game in person. They got standing room only for Sunday, but I don't think I'm gonna attend that. But anyway, my point is, the Lakers can still beat teams if the role players are playing their role. Now, if Malik Monk is only going to give you 1 3-pointer instead of 3 or 4, whereas you saw the 76ers role players, bottoms. And of course, they had home court advantage, but at the end of the day, the Lakers, they were closing out too. The Lakers, it weren't like they were just getting wide open looks. Like, they might have had a couple of wide open looks, but for the most part, these shots were heavily contested. Even on one play, Austin Reeves was running out to the 3-point shooter, and he saw that he was kicking it over to the corner, and he closed out on that, while another Laker was closing out from the paint. They had 2 people closing out, and he still made it. So, you know, sometimes you make it, sometimes you don't. It's a make-or-miss league. We do understand that. But at the end of the day, we know who has to do the heavy lifting for the Lakers, and that's going to be none other than LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Hopefully LeBron can give it a go tonight. If it's still sore, maybe he needs to rest it one more day. Charlotte is definitely a good team, and they can win, but I don't think the Lakers are too concerned with the standings yet, especially, you know, with the play-in game and everything. I don't think they're just too concerned with the standings, because as you can see, the Minnesota Timberwolves lost on yesterday against Golden State, and now the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be on the second night of a back-to-back going against Phoenix tonight. So that'll be another L in the book, I think, for them, to drop them a game below 500 along with the Lakers. So if the Lakers can go ahead and win tonight, that'll be big, and that way they can move up in the standings. Also, the Clippers, I think, are taking on Golden State, if I'm not mistaken, and that may be a loss coming up for them as well. So with all that being said, nobody's still just worried about the standings. We'll worry more about that at the All-Star break. The main thing the Lakers need to do is just get healthy, and I think that's what they're going to do. And, you know, as far as the Joel Embid AD matchup, it was a hell of a matchup, and I won't say that AD outplayed him, but he definitely held his own. He did outscore him. He did shoot 67%. Field goal range was higher than Joel Embid. He had 31 and 12. Joel Embid only had 26 and 9. But the big thing was Joel had those 7 assists, and he was getting others involved. So when people was coming to double, he knew where to go with the open shot, and I think that was key. There was a lot of times where there's a few seconds left on the shot clock, and he kicked it out, and they hit the 3. You know, and sometimes even had the hockey assist, kicking it out and then kicking it over too. They move that ball like a hot potato, and that's what the league has come to. People that can swing the ball, make the extra pass, and hit the open shots. So a lot of these teams are hitting open shots. Sometimes not so much for the Lakers. Malik Monk has been somebody who I think can. When I saw the lineup of Malik Monk starting, you know, in my pregame show, I had said Avery Bradley and THT. Only because Malik Monk, I think he does so well coming off the bench, and that's what the Lakers need, is bench scoring. So if he can come in and get it going, then that's key. But at the end of the day, it still wasn't a bad choice. You could have went either way, but it was on both of them to be able to make shots, and they just were not doing so. Neither was Avery Bradley or anyone else, and that's what it boiled down to. So at the end of the day, man, it is what it is. But just want to say, man, right on to the real. Much love to these haters, and I'm about. Peace.